All right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast series. But the QA, that's the important part, as we like to make this an interactive conversation. The questions and answers, it's why I like to kick off my show on a Monday. We can kind of sort through some of the news of the last week. We probably aren't going to be touching too much on news this week, but we've got lots to talk about. We've got lots of gear, lots of gadgets, and I just haven't had a chance to chat with my buddy. I'm wearing his hat just in anticipation of him joining the show. One Mr. I'm too cool to show up for mic check, Mr. TK Bay is going to be jumping in
Oh,
here.
for the love of God, I even forgot to turn on my light. Ah!
Oh, well, and that didn't help at all.
No. I needed to do the dramatic effect. You know, you fade out the black and then you come back with the better light.
Then you come back in. Yeah, that's how it's
Oh
very
my
dramatic.
God.
I do
Very,
enjoy.
very apropos to the show. Just to kind of show up late, not show up for mic check, and then, claim like everything is on time and perfect.
No, I mean, like, no. You were on time for the broadcast of the show, but I
Yeah,
was like, hey, I do the 5-minute pre-show thing, and you're
yeah.
like, nah, I don't do that. You needed to clear that with my agent. I was like, oh, you know what, you're right. I actually, that was inconsiderate. I should have asked if you
Sorry.
could build the 5 minutes in. For
I
that.
do apologize. I really wanted to. It was there was a small conflict in the. Well, I'll explain to it. All I can say is I was making this just to help with a little bit of things going on. But yeah, happy Monday.
You too? You've got some stuff happening?
Well, it usually happens whenever we have like we've been going through a really massive heat wave, and we're still going through it.
Yeah, that's true.
And whenever you do that whole hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold, regardless of where you are in the world, you're gonna get affected. Your immune system gets stressed, and you're gonna pick up something. So yeah, we're kind of. I'm trying to make sure that it doesn't become a big thing, so that it doesn't impact other things. So yeah.
Well, on the cusp of spending roughly 2 months dealing with, I think I had a bout of walking pneumonia. My family and we had a lovely trip out to the UK.
Oh,
It was
nice.
really, really nice.
Yeah.
And I ended up bringing back one extra souvenir
Always
where
nice.
I caught
Always nice.
I caught COVID. So I
Ooh.
spent 2 days with an absolutely brutal
Wow.
productive cough that on top of like the remnants of that other
Cough.
congestion issue that I was
Exactly.
dealing with.
Yep.
I was
Wow.
really scared. I was running 103-degree fever. I couldn't breathe. So
Ooh.
I did get in, and a couple days ago I started antivirals. I
Okay.
am out of my gourd, high as a kite right now, on a cocktail of drugs and
I'm.
antihistamines and
Oh man.
decongestants, and I'm still gonna have to mute like crazy, just
Okay.
like in between breaths as I like hack up more junk. I am
I'm.
so sad because this broke my streak. I had not gotten COVID to this point in everything, but I knew it was going to be a when I get COVID, not if I get COVID. But I was really bummed out that was like the last remnant of this awesome vacation in the UK. And then I fire up my email, and our good buddy over at Android Faithful,
Mhm.
who I've just forgotten his name, not Ron, not Michelle. Who's the other guy? Jason.
Is it Jason?
This is the worst.
No.
I just
Now you have to bring it
Right.
up. But so okay, first
because he like just went
yeah.
on this like Italian vacation, and I think he got COVID too.
Crap. Okay.
So
That is not a good
apparently
sign for.
travel right now is rife with the COVID. Jason Howell. I couldn't
Okay.
remember his last name to save my life. Jason Howell. My brain is also very Swiss cheesy at the moment.
Oh,
So
well, I mean, you're going through a lot, man. I mean, not only are you dealing with travel, you're dealing with jet lag and COVID at the same time. Like seriously. And dude,
so
yeah.
I just want to put it out there. I mean, we don't have to spend the whole thing talking about
No, I
uh,
want a whole episode focusing on.
I can do it. Let me tell
We
you,
can stand this.
antivirals, this Paxlovid is is a shock to the
Okay.
system. I mean, one, the medical science that we have in treating these kinds of diseases is absolutely incredible, but oh my God, this is the worst taste feeling I've
Oh,
ever experienced on any kind of medication. It is like constant gaseous rancid,
ugh,
and it's ridiculous. The one thing I want to put out there, and why I get increasingly frustrated with people who seemingly lack any empathy for people around them, this kind of culture that we've created around politicizing a disease,
yeah.
the reaction I'm having to COVID after being ahead, because I'm on a very basic medication that compromises my immune system already just to treat my psoriasis.
Yeah.
Had I not been so aggressive in keeping up with my vaccinations and my boosters, or if I had gotten COVID like before we'd had the vaccine out, my reaction to it, vaxxed and boosted, I am almost confident that I would have died. Like what happened
Wow.
to me in those first 2 days where I was symptomatic, I am very confident that my system unprepared for this kind of a disease, I would not be here today.
No,
So
no,
for anyone who's out there who's maybe questioning, or like if you're still like conflicted, or if you feel like there's a controversy or something like that there, it's the idea of taking a step outside yourself just to look around at everyone else around you and to hear from people who have been affected, to see family members who are still grieving, and that we're still seeing COVID rates surge. Now,
hmm
this is like, we're not really to a good endemic situation where, oh, it's just like getting a cold. This was not like the flu. This was not like a cold. This
no,
hit me so much harder. The nearest I can compare it to is there was a CES. I drove home and then woke up the next day with like 104-degree fever
crap.
and was in almost pure delirium for 2 days straight. And I don't know what it was, but it was a brutal 3-day flu. I'm on like day 5 of being symptomatic here with 2 days of antivirals in me. And I don't know about y'all. I don't know if anyone knows this, but sitting up is hard. You've got to like use abs in your hips and stuff.
Ab,
I
uh,
I don't know why we do this all the time. We
yeah,
should just like, we should
float.
stay like horizontal
Just
as
stay
much as we
horizontal
can.
as much as you can. No, dude. No, no, seriously. So for me, I don't know what it feels like because I haven't had it yet, but I've gone through, I want to say 2 rounds with my family that picked it up. So
Yeah.
it's not uncommon to hit parts of the family and not hit the other side, but it's also
Yeah,
really, really,
thankfully
yeah.
Marie is showing negative. Lex has been running a fever, but we're hoping that she's not, she's not going to get hit too hard from this either. I'm like in the office and then in the bedroom, and it sucks because like my office is not a functional living space. So my wife and my daughter have to hole off in other parts of the house, and I'm kind of quarantined in our bedroom, and it's just the gross inequity of not being able to also like contribute to the household and to the family and stuff is just, it's emotionally devastating
I mean,
in the
in many
best
ways,
kind
if you
of
think
way.
about it, you're contributing in the best way that you can, and then it is to get back to them,
Right, but
hopefully.
staying out of
Yeah,
their way.
stay out of their way so that it doesn't get because you so yeah, no, we speaking of CES, not to kind of joke on that one, but not last CES,
Yeah,
CES before last. Yeah, we had that too. It was
yeah.
Omar got it first, and my wife got it on the way back. Luckily, I didn't pick it up, and then it was literally about a week and a half worth of just quarantining and fever, achiness. It's like it just it was, and we didn't and they didn't take antivirals. So back then, I think it wasn't as popular yet. Um,
No, yeah.
and I'm just glad that
So
you're here and you have
yeah, me
enough
too.
energy to get up on Monday and make an
And
SDGQA for everybody.
and
It's
and,
good.
and for folks out there, like the antivirals are no joke. If you've got good care from a doctor and you can have those kinds of conversations, the antivirals are probably keeping me a bit more functional than if I were just trying to ride this out on its own. But the
Absolutely.
antivirals are presenting symptoms that feel just as bad as other significant diseases. So again, it's like, still kind of look around, find those opportunities where you can kind of keep your family safe. If you can avoid getting this, try to avoid getting it, because now I'm a part of a chain. Like every single time a person contracts this disease, we know this disease is very mutagenic.
Hmm.
We're giving it every opportunity to continue changing the flu, becoming more successful at adapting, and it sucks. I don't want to be a part of that. I was really happy with my streak of not getting it, so it's kind of a bummer, but it is unfortunately what it is.
It, but on a interesting path. Other than that, though, I was going to say I hope you guys did enjoy your time in the UK. I hope the weather was
Yeah,
better than
it
what
was
we were
great.
having. I guess at least back home, although I wasn't necessarily home for that. So I'll probably say I had heat in different ways. But it we were both traveling. Let's just say that, and you were coming back, and it was like a whole mess of a week last week. So that's why we kind of why I'm here actually. One of the other reasons why we're doing it on Monday morning with the SGGQA. So we kind of just bringing in the best of our week and the SGGQA from the last 2 weeks. Or wait, hold on. Yeah, I'll say that it's a it's a two for one. Best of our week SGGQA. I'll
I just like I kind of missed your face, so I wanted
same
to
same. It's been a
like jump
while,
in and
and the
like
month
get a
is not
chance to
over
chat.
yet. And the month is not over yet. Sheesh.
And unfortunately, I really was like, hey, maybe we should meet up in person, and
Yeah, yeah.
then well, that's not gonna happen.
Uh, oh no, we can meet. I mean, no, I know, I mean, yeah, I know. We'll have to plan something hopefully early. I'll say early August, mostly because the rest of this month is stupid crazy for me. Partially family stuff, but partially also I still have.
There's just a lot going on this summer too.
Yeah,
I came back from this trip with like a massive care package at my business mail drop
yeah, yeah.
of just all this gear, and you're like, oh, I genuinely don't know how I'm going to get through reviewing any of this. All right, let's go. Let's do this. It's going to be great.
Partially running late this morning because I actually had to do the same. I had to go to my mail carrier to pick up some things, and I had some stuff in there. So, but yeah, I mean, either way, there's still some interesting tech. Hopefully, some interesting news that we can cover for this week, and I do hope that things kind of do get better. Hopefully for you within the next couple of days or so, getting you back, able to be
Yeah.
mobile and test
I,
negative, and
I got 3 more days of this antiviral, and I'm hoping that like levels me off, and
mhm.
then hopefully my body will figure out WTF to do. So I would like because travel was what kind of kicked off a part of this conversation.
Yeah,
We're going to shake up this week's show, and it is going to be a little bit more like best of our week, and we'll be chatting with people here in the chat just like we always do. But we've been rocking some dueling Windows on ARM PCs,
yeah,
and we've been taking them out of our homes to actually travel with and get some
with
stuff done.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
thought this would be a nice opportunity just to kind of check in. I'm a little exhausted, and I really have zero buffer
Mhm.
for the hot take on like, well, Windows on ARM can't do this, or I ran this one program, or if you use all this emulated software, it's not as good.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest here with folks in the chat. Like, I had to turn off my Discord because I'm just not really into it right now. I have been living with this machine. I'm not speculating on what it's like to use
Hmm.
a Surface. I ran the show, like a stream, not the exact show, but I ran a stream last week from it in London.
Yep, I
Uh,
watched that one.
uh,
It was
I,
nice.
I mean, like, I've been trying to contribute real world data to this, not just, I did an Adobe benchmark, and now that Adobe doesn't have ARM native software, it's not good enough. Like, you can miss me with all of that. I think for both of us, when the M1 chips came out, TK, you jumped on an M1 chip, right?
I
You,
jumped,
you,
so I
you have a
jumped in a
MacBook.
little bit. Yeah, no, no, we're actually streaming on my streaming setup is set up around the M1 Max, and I jumped in a little bit late. I jumped in on the M1 when the M2 came out. I didn't jump on it right away. I didn't. I don't get me. There was like a hype part of it. There was the whole fanboy thing. Everybody jump into it, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, it's the best thing ever." And it was still. I started having some problems with my Acer, my Concept D Acer that had I think it was like an i9 with a 2080 Ti. It's a great laptop, but it's a gaming laptop in the creator body, and it still performed like a gaming laptop. You can't do anything with it on an airplane. So out of frustration, I jumped on Windows, not on Windows, jumped in on an ARM-based solution, which was Apple, Apple Silicon in there. For the lack of a presence on the Windows side that was competent enough, in a sense, to allow us to do the work that we do, produce content. There was great solutions with the SEX, with the SQ3s. Um, it wasn't what I needed. So yes, I've been using it for about a little over a year. That
A
one
little
Mac.
more than a year, I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and so over that period of time, I think it's been pretty easy to look at a consistent narrative where Like, for example, I don't touch Apple products at all anymore if I can help it. I'm genuinely, I have to deliver that as part of my bias and my preferences. As a human being,
I
I
understand.
do not like what Apple corporate does to their employees, to their developers, to their partners, or to their customers. I think they are overdue a significant market correction in how they do business.
I hope they do. Yeah.
But I have been overwhelmingly excited in detailing all of the developments from their silicon team because this has been the single biggest sea change in performance per watt we've seen in probably 20 years.
Oh,
We've
absolutely.
seen
This is.
probably since Apple switched to Intel
Mhm.
and dropped IBM as their chip partner. So I need everybody out there, at least for the context of this, to go into a Windows on ARM conversation with some of that energy. I need it. I'm telling you, I don't have the emotional buffer here to try and argue with people who don't have these machines or aren't using them except to benchmark them. If
Yeah.
you're living with it and you're
Yeah.
using it, then Windows on ARM has actually been really good for the last 2 years. And if you go to those little pockets of the internet where people have like the old Surface X or the old Lenovo or a Robo and Kala, stuff like that,
Mhm.
we love those machines. And we love those machines for very specific reasons. It is unequivocal. Like the Robo and Kala has been one of the most used products that I've had in my hands over the last year because
Absolutely.
it's awesome
Oh
and
yeah,
it does what
it
it
keeps getting
does
better with the latest few updates that we've seen. Ever
and it's
since.
been getting better.
Yeah, and some of the optimizations from what we're getting here with X Elite and some of the things that Google and Chrome and the teams that are starting
Yeah,
getting excited there, the development is actually starting to trickle down a little bit. Not all of it, but it's still making the
sure.
experience even better.
Now, TK, when what you just said though, there trickle down and improve and things like that. See, that can't happen
Yeah.
because
Okay. Sorry, I'll have to strike that out.
Snapdragon X Elite has been out for a week now, so everything should just be perfect.
It should be right because that's how
Right.
everything
So,
should be.
and if
Yeah.
everything's not perfect, then that's Microsoft's fault and Qualcomm's fault, and they just weren't. They didn't make it good enough, and no one should buy anything new, and instead you should just buy what you're already using or familiar with, even if it's not really the best fit for your needs. So that's the only advice we can give.
The
And tune
more
in
you
next
know,
week.
the more you know.
Do 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 do. I don't
Exactly.
think we'll get a copyright strike for me doing that.
No, no, no. We're just waving.
So I would like to jump in with some of your experiences so I can
Okay.
shut up and stop soapboxing, but I had to get that out there because like I'm really not emotionally into this. I can't tell you.
Okay.
I'll preface this real quick.
Okay.
No one should buy my configuration of the Surface Laptop 7 except for a tiny pocket of intensely web dev, RAM heavy, multiple browser multitasking fiends.
Okay.
My version of the Surface Laptop 7 is ludicrous. It's a
It's the
beautiful
best of the
machine.
best of what the Surface can be provided
I
at this
love it.
day and that
I,
at this,
I,
yeah, exactly.
I love this laptop.
You went with the ludicrous configuration.
$2,500 is a lot. And
Yeah.
especially when you jumped on the Best Buy deal for the
No,
Asus.
Costco one.
It's a
Oh,
Costco deal. That's right.
yeah.
Sorry. In the news today, remember how I was super critical about Samsung launching the most expensive version of a 16 gig of RAM
Yeah.
Surface Elite? Sorry, the reason I said Best Buy is there is a Best Buy sale
Oh, okay.
on the Samsung today that kicks that down to like $999, which is the appropriate price to pay for that Samsung
That 20
is
wait, that
$1,000 for
twenty two
16
hundred
gigs of RAM.
dollar configuration is down to
No, 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 no. So the 16 gig of RAM Samsung
they only had
has
16.
UFS storage, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't replace the drive,
Yeah.
and it started at $1,400.
Okay, because I remember. Okay, because I remember
So
one of my biggest gripes with them was the fact that they only had one configuration. But
right.
hopefully, maybe yeah. Okay.
So now, if you go through Best Buy, I don't have an affiliation with Best Buy, and I don't have a promo code or a link to give you. Actually, I mean, TK, you might, if you do Howl, you could put a Howl link out, and you could get some credit for it.
Sure.
Right now, I do believe there's like a sale that brings it down to like $9.99. That, in my opinion, is an appropriate price to pay. But it's
Mhm.
still, I don't think as good as the Asus deal that you
No,
scored at
Asus was
Costco.
actually really like it was okay. So it's a 12.99 configuration. Okay, but if you bought it at the time when we were pre-ordering, on Asus's website. It was sold with a 16 gigabytes of RAM of configuration. Somehow, Costco was able to release a version that even Asus doesn't sell on their website with a 32 gig configuration and at the same price as the 16. So to me, it was like a no-brainer. 32 is the right number. Don't get me wrong. I think 16 is an entry point. It's good for general usage. But when I'm running, like, let's say I'm running DaVinci on this, right? DaVinci 19 uses about 21 gigs of RAM just on its own when I'm running a basic render. So if I'm needing 21 just to run DaVinci, obviously I need a little bit more to kind of stay afloat. Otherwise, the system is just there. So yeah, that is, and obviously with all the I/O you get in there, the display, it's like almost a 3K display, not touch, but we do have some nice RGB for the keyboard. You're able to customize the mood a little bit. Has a little bit of a gaming flair to it. And it's pretty nice and light. And still can, obviously you still need a power brick to be able to power it up. With a 70 watt hour battery on this one. And I think if I'm not mistaken, we had the same configuration for both, which was the 45 tops as far as the performance of the SoC.
Yeah, it's the same MPU for
Yeah.
for both systems, because I believe they're both using the 80 variant
Yeah.
of the Snapdragon. So the bang for buck here, if you know anyone with a Costco card, one of the cool hacks
Yes, which is I know, and my brother.
right?
I don't have Costco. My brother had. I mean, I know you do, but I'm saying like, yeah, it's more of like I would have been like, hey, Juan, what's up, bud?
So, first of all, I definitely would have walked you in. But then also, there are these other ways that you can approach like Costco customer service and get like a temporary day pass.
Oh yeah.
So you can't do this very often, or I think they keep like records on who's been using the system. But like, even if you don't have a Costco membership, you still might be able to go in and score a deal like this.
Well,
I
so
think
that,
this is
the one I got was
one
I
of the
think
best bang for
during the
buck.
pre-order online, but yeah, I'm hoping now they have it at the stores as well.
Yeah. Oh no. So at our Costco, the one out here, not the one that you and I used to like meet up at
Oh, okay.
occasionally.
Well, the other one.
The further west, I finally got to get my hands on one of them,
Oh, okay, good, good.
and it is noticeably lighter than my Surface,
Oh, of course, yeah. The body,
but
the composition, of course.
yeah, totally different.
Mhm.
And when I picked up the display model, I don't know if yours has been doing this, but it was like the display was already starting to get a bit of that creaky sound, like when you pick it up from the tray.
Yeah,
So
I'll say, okay, I'll say this. I know $12.99 or $1,300 before. I mean, it's like 1,400 and something after taxes and all of that stuff. It's not cheap, but Asus's approach to this is very much into the more plastic side body. So you are going to get a little bit of that, but it contributes to the experience of being very light. It's almost like an ultrabook type of approach to it.
it is so much lighter.
Yeah, no,
Because
absolutely. Like the fact that it can do what it can do with that
like I'm
lightness.
impressed that when I pick up, oops, I almost knocked something very expensive off my little desk. So like, when I pick up my Surface, I'm really impressed that if I pick it up from that outside corner, this
You're not
doesn't
exactly.
there's nothing.
There's no
I'm
flex.
playing with the neck stock, that bigger neck stock XL,
Oh, yeah,
and I
no.
went to reach for it on my table, and I picked it up from the corner, just like this. You pick up just like the edge of your laptop, and you could feel the entire bottom chassis just bow under that. So I always think this is impressive. Like the very first time I think I owned a laptop that didn't do this was like a Razer. I had a Razer gaming laptop. MacBooks
Razer has
are
really good.
built beautifully in this kind of construction. We totally get it. But as I'm holding it here right now, there is significant musculature support going into me not dropping this $2,500 laptop, where I was at Costco and the Asus felt like a featherweight
I
compared to how this Surface is built.
I that was literally one of the first things that I noted. I mean, again, don't get me wrong. I don't have the Surface, but the other Surfaces that I've had reviewed or we've had a chance to play with in the past have always been the portable one, the more tiny versions, the 14 inches. So yeah, no, I guess initially when I looked at it, I attributed to what I was envisioning X Elite was going to be. It's that
Yeah.
small, nimble, light, but powerful experience that we wanted it to be in that experience. And again, with the way Asus has been doing it, and I think even MSI has been doing it, that's typically their style of design. They don't go with the unibody. Again, there's a reason why yours is $2,500. It's not just even that the fact that it has the highest configuration. You think even at the base model, you're around 18 to $1,900. So
Yeah, the Surface
you're
is already more expensive.
yeah,
Yeah. I
no,
mean,
no,
for other things too, like I do have a touchscreen. I
yeah.
don't know how much you need to pay for a laptop
I
touchscreen,
to me it
or
was
if you
more.
prefer the OLED, because the OLED on that thing is really
It's
pretty.
really good. It is. No, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things you have to kind of decide which configuration. There's a lot. The nice thing is that we have a selection. We have a decent selection of devices from different manufacturers with different configurations that allow us to actually kind of choose which one we feel would be the right fit for us. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Samsung, I feel, has definitely the design set. I like the design that they're going with. Surface looks very clean, very professional. That has very sharp. The edges on it just look beautiful there. Asus went with more of a premium. Um, it's a premium experience, a lot of IO, but at the price of the body. But it's not like it's going to fall apart. I'll say that. You
No.
feel the creaks, but there is enough support, obviously, everything to work correctly, and it's really nice that it'll
Well,
fit in almost
the
every single bag that you carry your laptops
because
in.
that's what I was gonna
Yeah,
ask. Like
it's actually thinner.
we're packing up stuff to travel to London. It's an
Yeah.
11-hour flight. My backpack was really heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was pretty brutal, and
Yeah.
I'm genuinely not used to traveling with a big beefy laptop because the main thing that I've been traveling with lately has been my Robo Ancala, a cute little mini tablet lighter than a Surface Pro.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yeah.
I was kind of curious, like, what was that kind of lifestyle accessibility like? Moving from a MacBook to something like this Asus, was it like comparable? Was it better? Did you notice it as much? Did you have to pack extra accessories for it?
On the accessory side, not really. I don't typically use on the IO side on the Asus, which is nice. We had more ports. We had USB Cs, USB As, and the HDMI, and a micro SD card. I don't know why, but either way, I would have preferred an SD card, but I understand like they're thinking of the GoPro or like those type of experiences. My typical pack was lighter because the core experience was much lighter than what I usually carry with my MacBook. Well, although I will say my entire usage was a little bit different. I had to be a little bit more patient with DaVinci Beta because we are running the beta on the DaVinci 19, and depending on the project I'm working on, and depending if I'm using any plugins, changed the way I was experiencing my usage on the computer. But other than that, the only accessory that I did have to keep carrying with me, which I felt like I was still doing even with my Mac, was my 4 terabyte SSD external drive because 1
Oh
terabyte
yeah,
is just
not enough.
not even in the
Insufficient.
slightest, not even close.
Yeah.
And I was packing for like I was editing so my travel was east. No wait, west. I went west where you went east, and I had like a long 15-hour flight to my first stop, and then from there, I was like, okay, I could do some work, and it actually hung. That's the one thing I
Yeah.
will say. It didn't give me the battery life that I've had in the past with my Mac, but I feel like it's also again some optimization needs to be done. But it lasted way longer than what my
Yeah.
typical Windows PC would have done, and
Oh,
it
huge.
still ran at, and I was running it on performance profile. I don't like running like it's you know what I mean? Like no, but that's the exact same way I've ran the Mac. I have always had it on
Hmm.
performance, even if it's off battery. At the end of the day, my goal out of using this is to get in and get out as fast as I can, not to get in and wait for it to get done. So the goal is it's kind of like how MediaTek approaches the big cores and the small core configuration. You give them a
Yeah.
couple of big cores in there, you get more performance there. You're able to get out faster, technically saving you some time and battery. And with that experience, I think overall, I kind of learned where I needed to be able to edit. There was one video that challenged me a little bit when I was in New York. It was a couple of weeks ago. But outside of that, it's been nice. It's been performing
Yeah.
just as good as what my DaVinci 18.6 is running on the Mac. If not,
Yeah.
maybe, a little
So
bit faster sometimes.
I feel there's definitely, I mean, like DaVinci 19 is still in beta.
Very
Have
much.
you
Yeah.
updated to beta 4?
I did not check over the weekend. I was out, so
Okay.
I did not want to stress the
So I was having, yeah.
mid projects. I
Sorry.
typically don't update.
Yeah,
I always
it's
update
bad when
after.
you're like
Yeah.
in the middle of editing something. Because I had one where there was a DaVinci update that broke ripple edits. So
Oh.
when you would cut, it
Uh-huh.
would leave the audio timeline in place, and then it would animate the
Like,
ripple cut, and then your audio would fall out of sync with
oh
your
my God.
video.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it took them a week to fix it. But again, it's one of the things where it's like the how the team at DaVinci Resolve iterates is just an abject embarrassment for all the people who are paying gobs and gobs of money for Adobe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have not spent a dime on DaVinci Resolve in almost 4 years now, and I get phenomenally better support on now multiple platforms
Oh yeah,
than I ever
yeah.
got with Adobe. But DaVinci Beta 4 fixed my problem. I had a problem where when I switched between panels,
Mm-hmm.
DaVinci would lock up.
Okay.
So I would switch from like my color grading back into my editing timeline,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would have to restart the whole program. Like, it looked like it was functional, but you couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
So
for me, it would be
that has
more of a
helped tremendously.
the whole thing freezes, and you just have to wait for it to unfreeze itself.
Well,
Yeah.
and no, it wasn't even like a freeze, because like you could click on all the buttons, just nothing would happen.
Okay.
So it wasn't that the program was locked;
Mm-hmm.
it just was non-functional, and you're like, cool, that sucks. And then you would turn it off and turn it back on again, and you could get back into editing. But Beta 4 seems to have fixed that.
Okay.
The
I'll
one
download that
main
later.
thing that I still think is the critical advantage of the maturity of the software on the Mac
Mm-hmm.
is we still don't have GPU support for rendering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So DaVinci is hitting the GPU constantly, but you can't go in and tell it, I want you to render off of the GPU. This is one of the fastest CPU rendering devices I've ever used.
Yeah.
Like, literally just ever used. I've got a mobile 13900H. I've got a Core Ultra 7 155H. I've got an AMD 8945HS.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of them are falling behind X Elite in a CPU render. And the CPU render on X Elite is almost catching last generation Intel graphics. So if I do an Iris render off the GPU, the X Elite is almost as fast rendering off the CPU. So until you step up to a gaming laptop with a dedicated graphics card, X Elite is doing more with this CPU than last generation laptops could do with integrated graphics in their GPUs.
Oh no, there's no doubt. The hype is real, and I'll say that it's exciting to see that it materialized exactly as it was originally intended. It wasn't really like the performance is there, and I think it's more of an optimization. But I want to preface this by saying this was just one component into what we do on PCs or on our laptops.
Yeah.
For me, my laptop when I travel is not an entertainment system. It's a production studio, right? I take it to produce
Yeah.
content. I take it to manage content. I take it to take care of things. And when I'm done with it, I close it and put it away. And I'm generally running either on my phone or on my tablet most of the time. So the experience for me has been super simple, getting in, getting out. Windows applications, loading, installing applications, everything in general was running well. I feel like to a certain point, I'm not sure if it's just me or maybe, but I think I need to do like what's it called, a disk speed test on this. I feel like unzipping, so basically zipping and unzipping files, compression testing on the Mac still runs a lot faster than it runs on my
Yeah.
Asus. It's not like super slow, but at least noticeably 1/3 of the speed when I'm unzipping files. Like I can see this and I can be done like this on the Mac. So
So
there's a
and
little bit
this
of growing pain still. But yeah.
and this is one of those things where I think it's fair to bring up some of those performance disparities
Mm-hmm.
as we talk about like what the state of Windows on ARM is.
Yeah.
Like, for example, WinRAR performance. I use WinRAR mostly to benchmark because
Mm-hmm.
I typically use 7-zip for all my actual
That's usually what yeah, 7-zip
file
is what
compression needs.
because it integrates
But
better into the Windows system as far as just
totally
unzipping.
does.
Yep.
But WinRAR is the only one that I found that seems to accurately depict performance cross-platform. So
Okay.
if I compare Android with the official WinRAR app against Windows with the official WinRAR app, and I get these benchmark scores, those benchmark scores have actually lined up with what I see in real world performance.
Okay.
It's rare. Like, if I look at the file compression test in Geekbench,
Mm-hmm.
it regularly does not seem to line up with what real world file compression is like when I just go to a file compression app. So I don't know what Geekbench does for their tests specifically. They won't ever properly give us the full breakdown because then people can figure out how to game their tests.
Exactly.
But WinRAR doesn't have an ARM native build.
No.
So performance on that is really poor. It is very bad. It's as we kind of run into those types of situations, I feel like we still don't quite have the same kind of acceptable performance trade-off that Apple had with their emulation layer, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, obviously, you took a performance hit when you went from M1 right at the launch of the M1, but when you're using it, you didn't tend to notice it.
No.
There are a couple of situations on X where we're starting to notice that this is now dramatically slower than I think it should be. But that's still, I feel, more a conversation about like software support, getting developers on board,
Mm-hmm.
and then where the emulation layer has actually succeeded. I was running some tests just in Audacity. Like, I
Okay.
love still plugging in Audacity as like a good free. I
Audio.
actually still finish off my podcast whenever I edit
Okay.
on a desktop. I still finish off in Audacity, and through an emulation layer, the performance is great. It's reading all of my USB accessories. It's finding audio and mics. Like, you would not know that anything was different. You would not know that you were on a different architecture. So, excuse me. I think that's been one of the primary wins is, with the exception of hardware specific drivers from companies that are slow to update their software,
Mm-hmm.
and from a handful of poorly optimized emulation situations, this has been way better
Oh,
than any previous Windows laptop I've used in, I would say, probably the last 5 years.
well, not only way better, but I feel like even closer to what we typically have seen in the past with Intel-based or even AMD-based laptops. Like if you're transitioning to a Windows on ARM from the different platforms that we've had before, this is the closest the closest experience that you probably won't even notice a big difference at all with just in general usage, everything running, installing, even if it is like you said, an emulation or if it's natively supported. The biggest leap that we have here is the performance per watt and the daily. I want to say like the things that I've noticed only because I'm going straight from M1 to X Elite. This is just me noticing it because like if you do certain things for so long and then you start doing them differently, you notice the slight difference between them. But had I come from, let's say, my old Windows PC, this would have been what I experienced going into M1. That sheer speed, performance. The battery doesn't just drop, goes from 100 to zero the moment I hit render. It's one
Yeah.
of those biggest surprises. And I urge anybody that has the opportunity to either, let's say, a Best Buy, Costco, whatever store that has PCs that are Windows on ARM, like X Elite specifically PCs, go down and check them out. Run a couple of tests, play, do some general tasks, see the experience, and because I think it's hard for us to kind of visualize it in front of you. I mean, the videos are going to come on my end. I've been trying to with traveling and a whole bunch of different things kind of going on. It's hard for me to kind of put down
Yeah.
and just say, let's just do this. It's
Because
it's exciting. Yeah.
as like a general purpose computer,
Mhm.
which again, I find a troubling disparity in how we focus on like two or three specific gaming benchmarks to then say, well, this thing can't game. It couldn't play this one game at over 60 frames per second, so it can't game. When really, like, a humongous library of games play on this way better than last generation Intel, and it's just a hair behind Radeon 780M. So like
Mhm.
the 7000 series of mobile AMD chips. And like when those AMD chips came out, we were like, whoa, look, integrated graphics can game. And now X Elite is here. Oh, but you can't do this one anti-cheat. Oh, no one's going to use this. That's what average consumers care about,
No, I
is
remember.
this
Yeah.
one
Just the
anti-cheat
anti-cheat that
program.
couldn't run. That's what made the entire
Oh
experience crap.
no.
Throw it away now. Throw it away now.
Oh gosh. So here's what I went through. I wrote this up on Patreon.
Okay.
I just wanted to use it as like a daily lifestyle PC.
Okay.
So we were traveling, and obviously there are things we need to take care of, clear out some emails, keep in touch with family. I had a really important conference call. I had a 45-minute Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
I did do a couple benchmarks because I ran a video render, and then we got the DaVinci beta update, beta
No.
4.
Yeah.
So I ran another video render, very short, like minute, like TikTok's length projects. And from a fully charged machine on Monday to 6 days later of just open the lid, use it for a little bit, 20, 30 minutes here, reasonable screen brightness because it didn't really leave our hotel room that often. I went 6 days.
That's pretty
I
cool.
went 6 days, and at the end of 6 days, I wrote an article on it talking about how I went 6 days while I was watching, I think it was the Denmark game for Euro 2024.
Mm-hmm.
I was down to 30%. I still had another day of casual open the lid, close the lid kind of use.
What
I
profile
have
do you
never.
generally use it off battery? Is it balance
So
or performance
so
or?
I go down to recommended when I'm
Okay.
on battery because even on recommended I can edit.
Okay.
Timeline gets a little choppier, but I can edit. I
Yeah.
usually only kick up to best performance for gaming and rendering.
Okay.
And so when I did those render tests, I think I did maybe 4 minutes of best performance because that's all I needed to render out a couple samples of TikTok length 4K videos.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. But if you're telling me, like, well, average consumers are really going to care about this one anti cheat, but they're not going to care about a machine that stays near silent for 85% of your daily computing tasks
Yeah.
and can run those tasks without you having to micromanage. Because this isn't me booting up the computer, doing 20 minutes on it, and shutting it down. This
It
is
was
me
in hibernation mode.
opening the
Yeah.
lid when I need it and then closing the lid when I don't. And it went 6 days of that. And I feel in my bones, in my COVID infested bowels, that consumers care more about that than whether or not some old legacy piece of software is 100% fully optimized to deliver the entire compute performance of this new chip. And this is exactly where we were with the M1,
Yep. The
where
beginning of the
geeks
M1.
like
Yeah.
us were excited about the M1, even if we'd had some qualms with Apple, to say this is a significant change in performance per watt.
Yep. Yeah.
You're missing the boat if you're missing the forest for the trees. If you're sitting here, oh, but it can't game. Gaming's important too. It can game. It can game really well.
No, it actually,
It
yeah.
games better than my Steam Deck in most titles that I would want to play in some kind of on the go capacity. I feel like that's probably a bigger deal for a lot of the people out there.
And I think this is the biggest thing that I think a lot of us are starting to see. And again, it's just, it's the excitement though. For me, it's literally just seeing the that excitement that I got from my first render on a Mac, in getting to render 3 videos on a flight and still be down to about 45% on the battery life, and running it in performance mode, again going on and off as many, like as we're getting on the plane, we're sitting down, there's the service meal and all that. It's like, close it, put it away, bring it back, start working, then I'm getting a little tired, close it, go watch a movie, sleep, wake up, edit. I mean, my flight was 15 hours, so I had tons of time to try to do multiple scenarios, and still landing with about 45% battery for me. And again, editing and rendering videos, 3 separate videos on this, was absolutely great for me. And it again, with the exception of the plugins, which for me, I kept that project till later, till I was back at the hotel with power, because I knew that that was going to take a substantial amount of time more. But again, I didn't realize that maybe the beta 4 will fix that problem for me. But as we get better with their, this is definitely an exciting experience. Outside of that, though, just again, generally usage, I almost never hear, again, and the same thing on my side. The only time I hear the fan is when I'm rendering, because it does need to kick up to cool the CPU. On mine, it keeps weird. Like initially when I started rendering videos, it was showed that it was only running on GPU. Then as started editing different ones that are different timelines and so on, I'm starting to notice more of a 50-50. Like I see the uptick in the CPU, but I also see the GPU running. So I'm not sure if it's just the readout isn't running correctly, because definitely not tapping into the NPU. But from just the sheer performance to where it was for me on Intel, it's just mind blowing. And the fact that this
Yeah.
is a Windows PC, just again, very
I,
exciting and very happy with what we're seeing. And
I,
I
I
want,
find
I can't wait for more.
I find and to just kind of piggyback on that
Yeah.
point there, I find that I'm already changing how I handle my laptop. This is exactly what I heard from MacBook owners
Hmm.
when they went from an Intel Mac to an M series Mac is you start handling your laptop a bit more casually like you would handle a tablet.
Yeah.
Like think about how many times it actually gets you into trouble where you've got like a really great tablet. Like say you got like a Galaxy Tab S9.
Yeah.
Beautifully powerful, like you can do a whole bunch of stuff on it. It gets great battery life, but then you start to trust the battery life a little too much and then you
Yeah.
pick it up and it's dead because you haven't charged it in like a week
Because
because you
you,
just keep
yeah,
picking it up and putting it down and picking it up and
your
putting it down.
usage change. Yeah.
And I'm finding that like in a very brief period of time, I am not babysitting my laptop battery anymore.
Yeah.
Like I think back to the horror days of when I was editing on the go for Pocket Now with a ridiculously heavy gaming laptop where the power brick weighed as much as the laptop did. And if I wanted to get a video out from a trade show event, I had to fight other tech reporters for outlets and edit sitting on the floor of a convention center so I could get
I
that out
I remember the
because
days. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because you couldn't do anything with that machine if it was unplugged. You'd get about 90 minutes of runtime. Obviously, the x86 side of this has improved,
Yeah.
but that's also one of the reasons why I switched to editing mobile, where I could get out a comparable quality of video on a phone as I could on a laptop, and the phone lasted way longer.
Oh, of
Especially if
course.
I could carry two phones, right? You know, not like captain two phones, but like, if I can have a phone for communication and a phone for media production, then I've already split tasks and I've got double the battery life. So now I'm not like racing. I don't even really know. I haven't plugged this in a couple days. Let me just see because it's basically just been my COVID companion. Yeah, so I don't think I've charged it in 3 days, and it's at 41%. I open it up, answer a couple emails, pass out because I've got a fever. I haven't been streaming media on it because I have a TV in my bedroom, but like I don't know, like 3 days of casual but consistent use, and I haven't thought once.
You're talking
Oh,
about
got to plug it in first and make
no, no,
sure
no,
it's charged.
but you're talking in days though. This is the thing. We need to understand that you're talking in increments. Day, you're not talking hours. You're
Yes.
not talking about, an afternoon like with a battery. No, but that's the thing though. It truly gets into I don't know how to explain it. It's like an ultrabook experience, but with a gaming performance system, power level, and the battery life that you just never expected a Windows PC to
Yeah.
have. Um, you'd have to, yeah, like you said, the word you said, you don't have to baby it anymore because it's no longer this. I have to boot up the machine with the massive brick and treat it like a
Yeah.
mobile laptop, a mobile desktop, as opposed to just treating it like what a laptop should be. Again, companion
Like
experience that doesn't just
like
die on.
like you've been doing with your MacBook. I'm sure you don't think ahead. I've got to charge ahead of use,
No,
right?
standby battery has been on par with what I saw with X Elite, but it is exactly like that.
And this
I do not
thing,
shut down my Mac. My Mac stays in hibernation all the time. If
yeah,
it's plugged, unplugged, whatever it is, I want to be able to jump into it, get my stuff done, and get out. I've
yeah,
done many times where I've done it where I'm in the middle of an edit on a project. I don't even exit the project. I close the laptop on the Mac and I pick it up and I go back into it. On X Elite, I think the beta has a little bit of a thing going on for it. So I typically will close DaVinci because I just don't trust it yet. But on the
yeah.
system wise, if let's say browsers, whatever, I just leave everything the way it is. Close it, bring it back up. Yeah, hibernation is perfect. No, it's seriously like overnight, maybe 1 or 2%. If you're just sitting there, it's actually pretty good on just standby
And
mode.
and this is why I'm getting a little concerned. I just as like an overview for
Yeah.
the PC market right now. This thing feels like the efficiency cores on an x86 machine. Like
Hmm.
I think Intel starting with 12th gen has big cores for productivity and little efficiency cores for like low level tasks, OS maintenance, and then like one of the things that I think changed on 13th gen or those efficiency cores are actually pretty good, and with Intel QuickSync
Hmm.
are pretty good at doing like video. So like you got much better battery on I think a 13th gen Intel when you wanted to just watch a movie, right? Because it's not taxing the system. They've got little hardware components that handle video more efficiently,
Yeah,
which they learned from ARM, really. Big core,
exactly.
little core, video transcoding, NPUs, things like that. We had all those first on phones and tablets.
Yeah,
This feels a little like it's running efficiency core style, but there are no efficiency cores on this machine. It's all just governors. So it can throttle down the clock speed, and those big cores can run pretty lean if you need them to. So when we look at the landscape right now, we just got news that Lunar Lake, Intel's next chip, is going to be delayed until later in the year.
okay.
We just got another pushback on AMD. So Strix Point, their next gen APU, also looks like it's being delayed. Not as long as Intel's, but it looks like now instead of, I believe those laptops were supposed to launch this week.
Okay.
Now it looks like they're going to be launching the end of July instead of the middle of July. And it's cool. It's really cool that Intel and AMD are taking power efficiency more seriously. But it took them 3 years of getting embarrassed by Apple and having Qualcomm beat them to the punch
Yeah.
in getting a product out the door. And I need nerds to know I wholeheartedly believe that a comparably priced AMD Strix Point laptop
Hmm.
is going to outperform my Surface. I think that's easy to predict,
Okay.
right? Like, that is not a controversial statement. It is the TikTok leapfrogging of technology that we always see. So I understand where there's a component of techies are like, well, just wait, don't buy something different or don't buy something new, just wait, and they'll eventually catch up. But the only reason AMD and Intel fans are getting better hardware today is because Apple and Qualcomm embarrassed AMD and Intel.
It,
You
it,
are not getting better chips because you just kept supporting Intel and AMD and throwing money at them, and then they just magnanimously decided to give you a better performance per watt. That did not happen. You are getting it because nerds like TK and I are buying ARM PCs because they're better performance per
there.
watt.
Oh, absolutely. To me, from the days of the Surface Pro 9 5G, since then, for me, Windows on ARM has changed. I've tried the Surface Pro X. I've tried earlier generation of it, and it always felt like it was a different experience. But once I jumped into the Pro 9, Microsoft and Surface made it a seamless transition. We weren't even at X Elite. And what we saw with the demos that we saw back in San Diego, when you and I had an opportunity to visit Qualcomm, it just blew my mind. It's like, seriously, it's all of the, like, I love being surprised. I love it when I downplay somebody else's excitement because I want to kind of set my expectation to be wowed, as opposed to be like, well, this is just not the same thing. I don't do that. I like to be excited about the tech that we get, and just getting what we're getting right now, and exciting just to see again the beginning of the change on Windows on ARM, and how mobile computing is truly becoming that effortless experience. We should not be stressing about our battery life the way we stress on our smartphones sometimes when it comes to PCs with 70 watt hour battery. It is a 70 watt hour battery, and you cannot be draining that the same as a 5,000 milliampere or 4,500. It's just crazy to me the way things are. We need better performance. Windows finally, decided to kind of pick up its its bags and start moving into that direction, because there was a little bit of delay as well. I feel like Microsoft has been not necessarily very much on the and I'll say on the same bandwagon and Windows on ARM for some time, and they're starting to finally kind of pick up and do more with, I feel like, optimizations. Copilot is coming in with this as well. If most of the PCs that are Windows on ARM, I think right now, are just Copilot PCs, and just I- like I said, there's a plethora of options. Figure out which one works for you, and you won't be disappointed. But do come in with this experience, understanding that this is a changing point in mobile
Yeah.
computing. This is
And
not,
and
yeah, this is not
just
just
like
your
how
regular, yeah.
M1 broke a whole lot of stuff and it
Yep.
was
Oh, absolutely. The first
dependent
6 months of
on
M1 was not pretty. I stayed away from M1 for the longest time. The only reason I even considered it is I was in a conversation with a buddy of mine, our buddy Ben, which I just saw back in
Mhm.
Bangkok, and he basically just like, yeah, this is a very like he explained to me some of his editing, what he does in work. He uses Premiere and so on. So to me, I was very excited about that, and I tried it and ended up buying his machine. That's literally the one I have. I bought his machine as he was upgrading to the M2.
Aw, Ben's a good dude.
He's a really cool guy. Cool guy.
Yeah.
I see him quite a bit now, like all
So
over the place.
so like what you need to do is like, did you have him sign it? Because then you could sign it, and it could be like the Ben TK
I
commemorative
I
model, and
am
you could
I
put it up for an auction.
I'll say that I am going to
And
see him next week, but I don't know if I'm going to have this system with me or the other. I'm debating on depending on what I need to do. But yeah, no, it's more um it's exciting. But yeah, it would have been nice to have us both sign it on that
yeah,
day just to get it. It
and
it's
and
just it's nice to see the tech do what it's supposed to. That's literally. I mean, I'm
yeah,
excited for just
well, and I think that's important is that like the tech is doing what the companies
a
have
promise to.
claimed it can do.
Yep, exactly.
I feel there was some optimism in how Qualcomm was talking about games, and that left them open to some of this criticism. Things like full DirectX support. So UE Engine 5, like Robocop,
Hmm.
is one of the games that I like to play around with. Doesn't work on 12th or 13th gen Intel Iris graphics.
Okay.
Does not have full support for that DirectX 3D. Forget what tier of DirectX it's supposed to be called. And same thing here. It will probably never fully support everything that you need in UE5. If the developer of that game is only going with those libraries and that compatibility, that could be a problem if you were thinking this was going to be a gaming machine. But I can't think of how Qualcomm could have been any clearer that that was not the intent of this system.
Yeah.
So just as we kind of transition out, because there are a couple other things we want to talk about before my voice totally fails.
Oh,
JJ also bringing up, I wonder how MediaTek will respond. Also would like to see more long-term support from their chips.
yeah.
I have to believe, because we've been hearing the rumors that MediaTek and Nvidia might be partnering, which would be
Oh,
pretty cool.
absolutely. They've been in talks for some time on their on their what's it called, on their car business. I
Yeah.
think those are some of the things we saw last year at Summit when you and I went there, and I mean, I want to say maybe even the year before we saw some collaborations. But it would be great, yeah, to see Nvidia and MediaTek put something together in this realm.
And I really think MediaTek will have a better play at more mainstream prices. That's my prediction. I
Okay.
think MediaTek's first steps will be parts that are easily explained in a $300 Chromebook
Hmm.
that can also do a reasonably good job of powering a student grade Windows machine.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
No,
Do you think they're going to try and come out with like a Dimensity tier product, or do you think that they're going to go after a more bread and butter approach?
so the tough position is, had this been a couple of years back, I would have been like, yeah, you know what? I think they're probably going to stick with what they have. Dimensity is improving and it's working, but it still wasn't there a couple of years ago. And what we see now with the 9200, the 9300 coming in, with the SoC performance that they're getting there, I wouldn't be surprised if they do start working on it. I don't know if it'll release this year because there hasn't been any word from them on that market since
Well,
the
and
announcements
also
of the other one.
Qualcomm's exclusivity ends this year,
Yeah.
so there's
So
no point in MediaTek like
try
trying to talk about a product now. They'll if they do talk about it, they'll talk about it like
maybe at
I don't
Summit,
know.
if they do have a
Yeah,
Summit this
exactly.
year,
Like
I
the end
feel
of the
like
year
this
for
will be
sure.
more like, hey, this is what we're doing in 25, the 25,
And
26
it's
roadmap.
coming. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think the biggest thing that we're looking at is their improvement in their mobile SoCs this year with the 9400. That's going to be coming out. Moving down to 3 nanometers, that's going to be their biggest push in there. But I feel like overall, when it comes down to mobile computing, they're doing a really good job with Chromebooks. I mean, the performance of what they're there with the Companion side has been great. And like you said, maybe optimizing it to run a copy of Windows on there, maybe a solution for some people if you're looking for a budget side. But I'm looking for probably 2025, if nothing else, later 24, early 25, for some of those type of news and experiences from MediaTek. But I don't think that they would bow down on this one. I think they would definitely take it head on,
Yeah.
and we just need to see, because they're touching on again on mobile and cars. They're going into all the different aspects. They're already in a lot of our IoT solutions, so
Oh yeah.
their hands are everywhere. It's just a matter of how they're going to approach it.
So I think what we're in for is, I think that's the last thing.
Sure.
And I gotta shut up because now I'm talking about the industry, talking about these products instead of just like I love using them.
So
X Elite isn't the end point of a
yeah. Oh
journey.
no, 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 no,
It's
no.
literally the fourth step of Qualcomm's process in trying to make a PC grade chip. In their fourth major generation
Yeah.
of chip, they are outperforming the Intel Core i9 13900H. They're trading blows with the AMD 8945HS.
Hmm.
Like, imagine I'm trying to think of like an older like chip manufacturer that doesn't exist. Imagine X Scale. You remember the old X Scales like from the PDA days?
Oh man.
Anyway, I'm Swiss cheesy here. Imagine some company came out of the blue and said, "Hey, we're going to make a PC chip." And the first generation kind of sucked, and the second generation was barely adequate. And the third generation was actually pretty good, and then the fourth generation was directly comparable in pure workload computing power
Yep.
as the top of the line, most expensive chips from the market leaders,
It's
and
crazy.
did it
Yeah.
at a significantly lower power draw. And you take all the brand names out of the equation, we would be like, whoa, that's really cool. And that's not the kind of conversation we're having today. So this is literally just the first step. I think Mediatek is going to go for entry level and mid range to start.
Yeah.
I think Intel and AMD will leapfrog the performance of X Elite, but I bet you that it won't be consistent across battery life to being plugged in.
I think that's the biggest thing you need to kind of keep in mind. It's the what do you value the most? It's the ability of last having a battery life of going away for a weekend and not having to worry that if you forgot your charger at home. Actually, probably forgetting the charger at home because you don't care to
Yeah.
remember to charge the battery. It's like that kind
Yeah,
of
and
experience.
we went to the UK and all I brought was a little phone charger.
Yeah. No,
I brought I forget which one it was. I think it was the U Green. I have a U Green 140 watt,
okay.
and we just had everything connected to that. And after 6 days, I plugged it in for like 30 minutes, and I was good for the rest of the trip.
No, no,
Like that's all I needed.
but this is I'll say that I've been enjoying that type of an experience with my laptop since I've been on the M1, and it continues with the X Elite. This is just it changes the way you treat and you work with your mobile computer forever. You will not be using it ever looking at the battery gauge. You almost forget that the battery gauge in there. Your main thing you'll be looking on the top right of your screen on a Mac is basically what your Wi-Fi is. And on the bottom right, basically, as if are you connected to the right connection? Is it a Wi-Fi? Is it strong enough? You almost never look at the battery. And for me, since I put it on performance the whole time, I don't even have to worry about changing, gears on the. I almost feel like I think what would have been nice if I think maybe set up a shortcut of on the keyboard to try to change performance mode so that I don't even have to go down there. Just basically
Yeah,
get in a gear, high gear, low gear. MSI
I'd love to just have
had those
like a turbo button.
but it's like MSI's
Yeah.
laptop used to do those all the time,
Yep.
where you would have the different performance modes configured
Uh huh.
on their gaming laptops. It's just because of the G series I've always been using. Asus did give it RGB keyboard. I feel like that's nice, although I didn't really feel because it's not a gaming laptop. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
understand what they were trying to do. They're giving it a little bit of a flair, kind of just make it a little bit more fun. But I actually just turned off the RGB. I don't want anything else to just run for no reason, just to take out battery out of whatever I don't need. Keep it in performance. The display brightness, I let it to stay on auto. I don't have to touch, and it ran again for the most everything I needed in decent experience. Low light on the plane was actually pretty decent. It does dim nicely, and didn't use it outdoors. I didn't sit outside to work. It's mostly been either indoors and again at the hotel or basically at the conference where we were, or even when we were at the on an airplane. So to me, it's very nice. It's the evolution that I've been waiting for. It's the excitement that I left my last summit from Qualcomm wanting to learn more about, and it's here. So I'm excited, and I again look forward to providing more coverage on that one and just sharing more opinions. It's been nice, and it's getting better every day.
Yeah. It's been a joy, and I'm sure we'll both have like I'm gonna try
Yeah.
in my drug addled brain right now. I'm gonna try to get the review done
Hmm.
either the end of this week or the beginning of next, because I feel like I've actually lived out of it. I didn't just, it's here in the Gadget Lab and I ran some benchmarks on it and you could use it or not. But I'm to spoil my review. I love Surface manufacturing. I really do like what Microsoft is doing. I love that they have made a not perfect, but a significant effort in improving their repairability.
Hmm.
I am fighting the urge to rip open my Surface and pop in a 2 terabyte drive just because I can, and it doesn't look tremendously difficult to do. But I'm still very cautious on the recommendation of the configuration that I bought. So that's still going to be that
I,
spoils a
I, I,
part of what my
I, I,
ultimate conclusion will be,
yeah.
but I still this is like a formidable change in how we handle computers, and it's a competitive option
Hmm.
that I think people will care more about the benefits they bring instead of the compromises they have to make to a handful of programs.
Just the last one I'd hope is that for the salespeople and for the people that are going to be in charge introducing people to this tech in stores, let's say at Best Buys or even like depending on Costco, sometimes they'll have like experts come in, is to showcase the benefit of the new ecosystem and the architecture that you're
And
getting
and
here,
and this is where
not just say this is a mobile
Microsoft.
computer,
No,
mobile
no, no.
processor on a laptop.
This is where Microsoft has earned every bit of criticism and ire
Hmm.
in going all in on Copilot, because Copilot is the least exciting aspect of
It's
this
it. I know.
change.
I know. You notice it's been an hour we've been talking about this. What did we talk about the Copilot? Not a thing.
None of the AI stuff
I yeah
is any big difference. I mean, we've
no.
had this for 2 generations of
Yeah,
Qualcomm
you
chips.
can
Like,
access
ooh, I
Copilot.
can blur the background of my crappy webcam. Ooh,
They had that
no, no, no,
before
no, no, no.
Copilot, though. There was there.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I know.
we had it.
Yeah,
We had it before AI PC.
exactly. Yeah, we don't need
So
AI to do this. This is
n- not
the
none of that
rebranding.
has
Sometimes
been
is comical.
so
Like
dumb.
no, I know, but like
It's so
it's
dumb.
the as if it never existed. But
I
sorry,
don't really
I
have
digress.
much relationship with Microsoft PR anymore, but I did write them an email saying, "Hey, this is the worst. We have now tied the most important change in Windows laptops in years to features and functionality that you've now had to cancel, and the branding on this is so stupid."
It is. I know. It's
Love, Juan.
uh-huh. No, I know, I know. But as a travel companion PC, I feel like it's a perfect solution. It's light, light on my
Well,
side. Not exactly
I
very light
think
on. I mean,
you no,
it's
no, no, yeah, I know. I think we can kind of put a cap in that. I mean, like,
yeah.
really what I would like to see is I just ask you, like, as you've been using the Asus, do you think you're gonna have like a proper review out, or are you looking more to make it more of kind of continued coverage as you experience it? What are
It's
you?
going to be a little bit of mixture of both. I will say that I I'm not going to deny the fact that I had a couple of times where I was considering getting myself a Surface. Not to say that I feel like the Asus is not the right fit for me. I feel like the Asus is it checks off a lot of boxes for me right now, but in the sheer performance level, like the fact that I'm able to kind of almost max out my 32 gigs is not a comfortable place for me. And
Mm,
committing to it to an extent because the issue that I'm having with the reason why okay, so a little bit is very small BTS on this. At the time when we were pre-ordering everything, I was very much focused on getting the same configuration as Squad. I was on a
mm-hmm.
trip and I don't remember which one, but I was having issues where my shopping cart would not check out and I could not get my pre-order to ship at the early time where units were going to start be sending out and it was going to be sometime in the middle of July. Obviously, we are in the middle of July now. That's beside conversation. But long story short, I decided to switch over and I started looking around. That's when I found my deal on Asus for Asus on the Costco side. And I like the configuration. I like the performance that we get in there. I just feel I'm still in that on that fence. So to answer your question is it's going to be a little bit more extended. I may document basically if I do decide to switch over to the Surface why I'm switching, like the specific
Okay.
reasons why I'm going from one configuration to another. It's because at its core they're both powerful. They both I know the compute power is there. I feel like the
Hmm.
accompanying package may be in need a little bit more for me. I feel it's not as bad, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, yeah, when I compare it to my Mac, it feels a little bit flimsy. But that's just again because we're going from solid body to more plastic design on there. But I think at the end of the day, either one, whichever one you go with, depending on the budget that you're willing to go with, I think 2,500 is well worth it when you go with some of the upgrades that you get in there. And again, touch display may not be big for a lot of people, but I kid you not, every
Oh no,
time
I still
there are
I still
some benefits.
appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
I still like it, but again, it's like I feel okay. We don't have to keep. I don't want to like hash
No, no,
out
no, no, no,
our
no.
whole
Yeah, yeah.
videos
No, no,
and
no, no.
scripts and stuff.
I get it. So, long story short, coverage will be
I,
coming from
I'm
Asus.
I'm
Yeah.
actually more bullish on your system, and you're talking up all the better points about my system. And
I
between the
no.
two of us, we have a functional person.
We may just need to meet up at some point and just swap. No, no, I'm just kidding.
It's like, hey, if you trade me this and maybe another $1,000 phone, I'll give you my service.
Hey, hey, hey. How many do you want? Hold on, hold on. How many do you? I can start stacking stuff for you. I did get a phone on this last trip, but yeah, no.
Well,
Yeah,
that's actually
keep
what
it
I'd
tuned
like
in for
to
that.
switch gears and in true best of our week fashion because you got to spend a little extra time with another Android manufacturer
Yeah.
and you
Uh,
have some thoughts to share.
So recently, I've been on actually a couple of trips with Realme, which I really want to. I'm very very thankful for that. And on this one, I actually got a chance to take my son with me, so that was actually a very nice little bonus. First time having Omar come out with me on a trip. Um, Realme's big push, and I feel like Oppo's been doing the same within the last couple of months or so, is AI and functionally bringing AI into their devices in more in all of their lineup, basically, not just necessarily on their high end side. So a couple of weeks or so, maybe 2 3 weeks ago, I was in Milan with them, and they launched the GT6, their brand new flagship running the Audeze Gen 3. Very strong, powerful performance system there, and again, camera system to support it. Finally, got my hands on the 8 the GT6T, which is the 7 sorry, the 7 Gen 3 version of there, and I'm going to hopefully get a chance to play with that for a few weeks. Um, they took us into Bangkok, Thailand, to uncover a phone that hasn't been launched. So this is I'll caveat this: the 13 series is not officially launched. They teased up the series with what we were able to get as far as AI and some of the new features that they're going to show us. And for a select group of people that were at the event, we had the ability of playing around with pre-production units that were encased in good old camouflage fashion, so you couldn't tell what the design looks like. But obviously, we still had functional apps. Um, but to preface it, saying that it is a pre-production hardware, pre-production software, it is not a released product. They are revolutionizing what you should expect from Realme at around the $350 to $400 price point. The number series from Realme has always been budget friendly, but the camera performance that you get out of it now is crazy. Like, it is so good for what it is at 350 to 400 that I am surprised. I will be very much surprised if anybody that is not really excited about it when it comes out. We spent a couple of days with that. They took us in, they get us some demo areas. We had opportunity to test it out. Daytime shots. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't 100% the best in Bangkok. It was very much overcast the whole time with gray and rain on and off. But nighttime photography was great. Daytime photography was great. I take some portrait images. I even had to, I put a short video just detailing my experience from the event. Um, but yeah, traveling with not to kind of throw it too back, but traveling with like I say, a Windows on ARM type of PC, covering an event like that, it's crazy. It's nice. It's super easy, and you're able to do so much with it that I appreciate having that. And Realme just took it to the next level for me. So I'm excited to see what the 13 series is going to come. They didn't share with us what SoC is going to be running it, although it will be a mid-ranger. We know that much. And their biggest flex on that one is a dual 50 megapixel cameras, bringing
Yeah.
in the LYT Sony 701 and the LYT 600, the 600 for their telephoto and the 701 for their primary sensor, both 50 megapixel cameras. But
Nice.
images that look beautiful, stunning, may take an extra second or so to process because, again, mid-range type of experience. But very nice. Yeah, no, I'll say this: Omar was blown away. Like, he was like, to see him at the event was like excitement and like all over to like, yes, yes, this is so cool. So a few times what I would do, or like when I was talking to PR and so on, I'd literally hand them the phone and was like, dude, go have at it, go have fun. They let me bring him with me. That was the other thing. I asked them, and they were very nice
That's
about.
really
They're
cool.
like, "Yeah, no, no, he can come with you to the event." It was nice. It was at the same.
My production
Hey, hey,
assistant,
hey, camera guy. Yeah, no, no,
aka TK employing child
for
labor.
free. No, 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 no.
Oh no, we've been demonetized.
Internship experience. Yay! No, um, I paid him generously in SH Fig Arts toys. Let's just say that enough.
Nice.
Yes,
That's good.
there was a we stayed like a day or so later, and we got a chance to check out one of the temples in there. But we also found a as I'm not going to say it's probably as big, if not bigger, than the anime center that we found in Hong Kong last year at the end of the year when we were visiting. It is seven. It's an entire building, shopping center of 7 stories high, of anime shops and
Yeah.
gadgets and gear, and it's like, and it was just geeking out. So we did that twice. We went there twice, and every time we walked out with no less than about $100 worth of SH figure. So yes, let's just say that his collection is growing. It is absolutely fun, and
That's great.
I'm excited to see that
But
kind of experience.
it's also nice like when you can bring someone with and you can kind of, you know, it's not dissimilar from when you're a little kid and you go to a theme park and it's like the most amazing thing, and then as an adult, like, hey, yeah, this is fun, but it's really expensive, and then you bring a kid and you're like, oh, I get to kind of experience that magic again. When someone doesn't know what it's like to really be boots on the ground at one of these trade shows or one of these events or have that kind of firsthand experience before anyone else
Yeah,
has had a chance to play with one of these, it really lights up something that I think is a bit more interesting and it gets people more involved. I know we all like to comment on this stuff and share links and
yeah, yeah.
and chat on social media, but like really going and doing is a little different than reading about a tech blog's experiences going and doing. So it's I mean it's one of those things I really wish there was a bit more of that outreach. It's one of the things I miss the most about the early days of consumer smartphones.
Hmm.
You know, like we made fun of it, but just think about that energy of people lining up outside of stores to
Yeah.
get
Overnight.
products.
Yeah. No, no. I
I,
used to do it too. I used to do it too.
no, I mean, like, I
Yeah.
still have these incredible memories of the midnight release of Windows 98. And we were in a line of hardcore nerds all dying to get their
Just to
hands
get
on
our hands
Windows
on it.
98.
Exactly. No, no, but it is that it was that experience that I feel like that excited me the most about it. It was the fact that he got a chance to like you said, experience tech that just hasn't been out, but also see the vision that the company is trying to portray, like understand if there's anything that he had a question on or anything like that, he would ask, and I would try to kind of guide the answers there. But um one of the biggest things that I feel like I think he probably noticed is that jet lag is a beast, and he is, yeah. So although the excitement was very high, like you could see by halfway or like later in the event when we started doing the nighttime stuff, yeah, he was tired. He fell asleep a couple times on a chair. But you know what?
Yeah.
Honestly, he was a champ. He hung in there, and as soon as we came back, I said like, "Hey, how fast would you get back on a trip to go?" He said, "I needed maybe 2 or 3 days to recoup, but maybe I can come back." And I'm like, "Yeah, but yeah,
What?
imagine when you have." I was like, "Pack your bags, buddy." No, we do have another trip coming up, but that's going to be more family stuff. Hopefully in the next, maybe with 2, 3 weeks or so, maybe a month, we'll get some R&R before he goes back to school, which is what we
That's
try to
good.
do once a year. But yeah, it was exciting. Thanks to Realme again for letting me have some experience. Unfortunately, I did not get to keep the demo unit. They did take those hardware back, but they promised hopefully as we get closer to the launch event, we'll. No, I mean, in my mindset, I was thinking like the better, the more we use it, the better we understand it, the better it's going to be. But to our
Hmm.
understanding is, I think it's that the design hasn't been finalized, and the units that we had were so pre-production that they needed to put them in those cases. So we didn't even, like I said, we never saw the back of the device,
Yeah.
and the camera stack was just basically showing. It reminds me of my trip
I,
with Oppo like 3 years ago
I
with the Find
actually
X.
think that's going to be a bit more common over the next year or two because it seems like we're in kind of a reduction phase
Yeah.
where it's very unlikely we're going to find something magical in the smartphone that is going to increase sales enough that it eclipses the downturn that we've seen over the last 2 years.
Hmm.
Because year over year, we're selling fewer units. So now we're approaching a very mature and established market, and we're not finding new smartphone customers.
Yeah.
Now we're selling new phones to people who are replacing their old phones.
Yeah.
And so that experience, what you're describing right there, I think a lot of companies are really going to start taking a harder targeted look at how ahead of their manufacturing do they need to be? What is their roadmap really
Yeah.
going to look like? And when they start describing these experiences to press and to media like
Hmm.
you know, maybe you're going to test it first as a mule device just to see. You unfortunately become a part of the focus group that describes the experience. But especially knowing that this is going to be probably a, I don't know what, like a $300 to $400
It,
mid-range tier
30, yeah,
device.
the
Like,
13 series or the number series from Realme has always been that affordable bang for the buck type of an experience. We saw that with the 11, with the 12 series. So the 12 series was released in January early this year. We saw it at CES. They came in, they did a special thing for a lot of the media here in Vegas, and that was exciting. And speaking of which, I actually saw like an in real life person in Bangkok carrying the green color of the 12 Pro Plus. So it was exciting to actually
nice.
see that it is in hand usability. And the dude did not have a case on it. That to me just, but I understand why the material and everything that's on. So it's really nice to see that presence that they have. And getting us hands on a little bit earlier is the smart way to do it. Allowing us to talk about it, allowing us to kind of share our experiences with
Hmm.
it was actually nice. I wasn't 100% sure going into the event what exactly was other than basically AI focused, and I was surprised that there was hardware for us to test and to play with. And I think that's the biggest thing. And again, Omar obviously had the best part there. And they had different rooms where we had different testing. They even had some models that we were able to work with, and it just to me was more stress testing tech to the way you use it. And the other thing I will say though, just using tech in general in a very humid environment
Yeah,
changes the way you approach. I mean, even tech. I mean,
big time.
as the weather were getting hotter and hotter every day, driving a device like back when they remember we used to test out the Sony devices and we would get like overheating issues and so on. We always typically get them around the summertime. It's because that's
Yep.
when they send it to us, right? We're testing
Yep.
them. So that was actually some challenges in there, water ingress protection and so on. So that was actually kind of nice and different things. But I think at least overall with Realme, it was a fun event. It got to be Omar and mine first trip together, where it was just basically he and I working it. It wasn't just he comes with me and then I go and come back later. So
Right.
it was a lot of fun, and yeah, hopefully
That's
we'll do
great.
some more of those.
Do you think you kind of whet the appetite? Do you think he's going to
I
make this
think
a part of the
so.
family business?
I feel like the excitement level that he got out of it, I feel like I
Because it
definitely
makes
can
it
see
feel
it.
special. It does
Yeah,
feel
it
good.
is. It's a very different trip when you're going. Yeah, like I'll say this: I understand Jaime and Diego's trips now a little bit better. Like I've always in the past, we always used to see Diego walking around with Jaime and so on. And as you get bigger and older and in more understanding and more professionalized, you have to be introduced to this business a little bit early. And I feel like it's nicer that I'm able to help him see the BTS behind all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was exciting because he saw the from the beginning to the point of the video was done, all the content that we shot. A good number of the images that we saw in the video that I posted was actually his images taken, or he took the images on the
Nice.
device. So it's his eye is there. He knows how to compose. I love that. I love that.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
I mean, just be kind of cute, like if he decides that like that's something he's interested in or wants to get
I
into.
want it to be a substantial option for him because I know his main focus right now is gaming and so on. But I also want to
Hmm.
explain to him that gaming is part one of it. There's always going to be the part of doing the thing, right? You could do the fun stuff, but there's also the back end of all of the how
Yeah.
to make that stuff happen.
No, I
It
mean
doesn't just
Lex is
magic.
8,
Yeah.
and she's seen Daddy on TV, actually on TV, and
Mhm.
Daddy on TV because Google will put up my videos in our Chrome, not Chrome, in our Chromecast feed.
Oh yeah.
And so she's seen all the fun output, but it's like even at 8, I'm like, okay, well, this is what it looks like to shoot a video, and her eyes glaze over after about the first 5 minutes of well, I have to organize these files and then I have to do this and that. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Oh, I'm not done yet. No, I think I'm good. And then she'll like go
I
back to her
like that.
room and play with something else.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, no, no, I know you're not done. I'm done. I'm done. I moved
Yeah,
on
I'm
to the
I'm good. Yeah.
um yeah, it gets better as time goes on. I'll say that. We've gone to I didn't have edit any videos this year, but I mean last year I think I started showing him how to use DaVinci to do some edits on my PC because I use some edit shortcuts and so on. So it's not hard. But he understands the tediousness and having to figure out how to do things and
Yeah.
um it's like I said, it's exciting to see it through his eyes, and I hope I'll have an opportunity to do more with him. It's right now just limited based on what he's off. He has to be vacation or
For sure.
some kind of a break.
Well,
Yeah,
and TK, and if you'll pardon, because for everybody out there in the audience, I think you can all model your parental behavior on what TK is doing, in that he is not saddling Omar with his first experiences being on Adobe software. He's choosing good software
software.
to
Yeah,
empower his child,
yeah.
and I think more parents could learn from that. I feel like that's probably a good father figure. TK, it's a good role model to emulate. And also, I mean, some parents, most parents, I feel like would love their children.
Yeah,
And
man.
if you love your
I
child,
remember
maybe,
I started here. Like I'll just say that I
yeah.
still have my disc. Oh, and I'll say this a little bit. The only oopsie that happened to me on this entire flight, my DaVinci 19 unregistered me halfway on the flight.
Oh no,
Yeah, no, no, no. It kicked me out, and it says, "Please
I
input
don't
your
have my
license key."
card.
I'm like, "What?" I was like, "No." So luckily, it through the Wi-Fi on United, it did work across the Pacific, and I was able to get back. That was a little bit of a scare. It has nothing to do with the Copilot PC. It is absolutely some kind of a glitch in 19, where it logged me out, but it got me back in. So yeah. Other than that,
Yeah,
it was a smooth
I
trip.
took a photo of my serial number too, and I keep it saved
I have
just
no,
in
no, no, no.
case.
Just to be on the yeah, just to be safe. You never know.
Yeah,
Surprisingly, the beta didn't log me out of my desktop or the M1, so that was
that's
interesting.
good.
So that part was
Yeah,
okay. But in mid-flight, where it was like, yeah, you need to put your license key back in. I'm like, what? I'm
yeah.
like, oh, so I'm like, okay, let me please, okay, good. I
Well,
got the key, put it in, please work, and then it worked. And luckily, nothing was lost. So like, but
that's good.
otherwise, I was good. Like that never had that before. First time ever. I guess, yeah. Be careful.
Hold on one second. Sorry, I'm gonna catch. So I had to take my next round of antivirals right before we jumped on this, and I'm starting to get that sort of rancid gassiness. So if you see me like chugging water and muting my mic, I don't have a fun transition to switch topics here. I like I said, I came back to a mailbox drop just full of really cool kit.
Yep.
But I'm going to be spending a bit more time covering some mini PCs.
Hmm.
So we just recently we both got to spend some time with the Geekom,
Oh yeah,
and so
the
now
A8.
they're. I'm just going to kind of peek this up. This is not the A8. This is something else. So we'll be playing with another high performance part from Geekom.
Nice.
But one of the things that I'm really excited about is my pals at Audeze. So Audeze make some of my favorite kind of boutique-y planar magnetic headphones. They were recently purchased by Sony.
Oh,
So Sony bought Audeze, but they are still operating as a separate brand. So they are
okay.
not under, as far as I understand how this deal has worked out, they are still a standalone company here in Southern California.
Hmm.
They just happen to live under the Sony umbrella. And one of my most used gaming headsets was from Audeze. This is the Audeze Mobius. This was one of my first experiences with sort of standalone head tracking,
Okay.
where it would model three-dimensional sound free from your software. So it wasn't that you needed to have everything kind of synced up, is that you would look at a display, you would sync the headphones directionally, and then as you moved, it would just kind of model the directional location of where what you were looking at.
Makes
And
sense.
I flippin' loved it. I still think it's actually one of the best representations of 3D modeling sound that wasn't already spatially aware.
Okay.
Well, these were discontinued a little while back because Audeze is a small company. and they just recently sent out for review the Audeze Maxwells.
Okay.
So this is kind of a follow-up to what the Mobius were. This is a $299 gaming headset, big old closed back, planar magnetic ear cups. Now, the big focus has been transitioning to dual wireless connectivity. So you can
Okay.
go over Bluetooth with LDAC or AAC, or you can use a proprietary dongle.
Okay.
So the dongle gives you crazy low latency, high quality. It's just its own proprietary radio, but just a very it's an exciting redesign. I'm gonna get real nerdy here. As you can see, they changed up their driver housing. I don't know how you'll be able to see. So almost all of Audeze's products now are circular,
Mm-hmm.
where there
Used to
were
be
a
more
lower
old.
cost series of ovals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was the LCD one and the Audeze Mobius were their lower priced. These were really expensive. They were $400 gaming headsets. But they used this kind of slightly smaller, narrower, planar driver in this more oval ear cup. Now they've kind of standardized on something that's a bit broader. And I think this also kind of helps with comfort and everything too. So I've only had my ears in these for about a day where I was rational enough to really pay attention to what I was listening to and I wasn't in the middle of like a fever dream.
Mm-hmm.
So these are one of the most connectivity friendly, flexible headset options that you can buy. You've got the plug, though they will work over a USB-C cable. They'll work over a 3.5 millimeter cable. They've got an optional microphone that can plug in. I almost considered running the show on them. It's just I sound so terrible. I did not want a microphone anywhere near my nose for this broadcast. Bluetooth, and I think I'm missing something. No, 3.5,
Bluetooth.
USB-C, Bluetooth, and proprietary dongle.
Proprietary dongle. Yeah.
All of them work together. And so this will come in two different flavors, an Xbox flavor, which I
Okay.
think supports head tracking better in more applications. I have the PlayStation version because I still have a PlayStation 4 and I don't have an Xbox. So of the two, like that kind of made more sense, but it
Yep.
really doesn't because I'm really just going to use this mostly with a PC. But the PlayStation version, I don't believe supports as broad. It doesn't have as broad compatibility for head tracking in other applications and other games.
Okay.
So it's a little different than Mobius in that regard. But otherwise, this has been one of the nicest headsets I think I've ever used.
Mm-hmm.
There is no more extending or telescoping. Like you don't get any of that plasticky creak
Yeah. Yeah. For the
on
mic.
headbands on
Oh, I'm sorry.
headband
On the headband thing.
joints. And the only way that you can adjust this is you've got these little plugs so that you can move the head strap so that they'll sit a little higher or a little lower. Just a gorgeous piece of audio technology that I'll be spending a little bit more time with, and then I'll be getting a proper video out to talk about just how much I'm such a fanboy for what Audeze makes.
No, absolutely.
I really feel like again there's a novelty to trying different kinds of audio reproduction technologies. And you can get incredible headphones that sound amazing with very traditional dynamic drivers. You can find like $1,000 headphones using a dynamic driver and they sound phenomenal. Like there's once you climb over about $100, you're not really paying for a linear depiction of audio quality.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start spending more than like $200, what you're looking for is closing in on a flavor of the audio that suits your tastes better. And sometimes that's $200 and sometimes that's $4,500.
Absolutely.
But what you're doing is you're saying like I like this kind of color, I like this kind of staging, I like this kind of presentation, I like this kind of articulation. And for me, the way that a planar magnetic driver articulates is lovely when you get a game that has really fun sound design.
Okay.
So I'm stomping around as RoboCop and I'm hearing all the little clicks and motors and servos, guns cocking and loading and bullets ricocheting, and it's an aggressive, tactile kind of attack.
Mm-hmm.
so that all of those little sound effects are really like clicking and popping and buzzing, and they're floating all around my head, and I can hear the thugs and the footsteps, and oh no, there's an Ed 209 and stomp, 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 stomp. And that's what gets me really excited. And again, it also works really good for movies,
Okay.
especially action and sci-fi movies that have really good sound design. So that's the kind of thing. It's like, yes, $400 is a lot to spend on a gaming headset, but if you know what kind of color and shape and presentation you like,
Mm-hmm.
then you want to start spending more to walk in that direction to get the product that really satisfies the things that you enjoy. That's what you're spending more for. You're
Exactly.
not spending more because it's gooder. You're spending more because it's a better representation of what you like. So, like I've spent a lot of time with other, like I really loved the Sennheiser
Okay.
gaming
Yeah.
headsets. Now they became EPOS, and I think EPOS folded. And then there was another one that I reviewed at Slick Deals, and now I can't remember what that headset was. And I liked it a lot too,
Mm-hmm.
but there's something unique. The sound is presented in a different way when you change up to a planar magnetic driver. And that's what's kind of lovely is Audeze has been a boutique brand. They sell ridiculously expensive headphones. If
Yeah.
you want
I
to
know.
go crazy down, like I did their $4,500 electrostatics, those were amazing. They blew my mind, the sound that I got from those. And again, I would recommend them to a tiny sliver of a minority of potential audiophile type consumers because they're $4,500.
Oh no, absolutely.
But Audeze in playing that, I feel like they're one of the last brands, boutique or otherwise, that is still crafting a premium professional recording experience, a high-end audiophile experience, and then also still reaching out to something like a mainstream gamer experience.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like any one of those outlets, any one of those markets, is just being lazily satisfied or lazily serviced.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like at the end of the Sennheiser run, the Sennheiser gaming headsets were kind of on autopilot.
Yeah.
Sennheiser professional recording gear has always been top tier.
No, it's definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Sennheiser's gaming side has been a little, oh, this is good, but it's kind of like what we already had.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Audio Technica, their professional gear, stunning, bulletproof. I flippin' love AT, but their gaming gear started suffering some really obnoxious QA problems. So
Yeah.
like my ATs, like Marie's using them now. We had them serviced and replaced twice.
Oh wow.
I'm really happy that AT has good follow up with their customer service, but it's still like I'm kind of getting back the same headset that had the same problems from the one that we had before.
Yeah.
And so that to me is a part of that conversation. I have not felt for Audeze's pros and cons because nothing's perfect.
No, no, of course.
I have not felt that Audeze has slid into minimizing one part of their business. Like Blue Microphones, they took a nosedive. Blue
It's been tough.
Microphones used to make some of the most exciting studio grade microphones, but then they sold a whole bunch of Blue Yetis, right?
Yeah.
USB cheap microphones. And then they kind of just let their studio gear wither because they were making so much money on their USB side, but then there was no innovation in their higher quality sound reproduction and recording capabilities.
Exactly.
So again, it's like we watch this play out. There are very few companies that I think service multiple markets with the same kind of consistency and the same kind of approach that I've seen from Audeze. So that's already really long-winded, and I probably won't include anything that I just said in the full review. But the Maxwell have just been a delightful return to form. Like they feel like the proper follow-up
Mm-hmm.
to what I loved about the Mobius.
I'm glad. I'm glad that it's a good experience. And are these going on Kickstarter, or are they available just straight up?
Oh,
Or
they're out now.
oh, okay.
So Audeze is also tiny and boutique-y. So this has been available to buy, I think, for almost a month now.
Okay.
But outside of like the major reviewers, and I think a few of like the big sound, like the sound guys and stuff like that, I think most of the reviews that you've seen are people who just genuinely went out and bought them. I kind of lost track of them. I got an email, I would say like 3 months ago, saying, "Hey, we're gonna do Maxwell. We're gonna have this launch party. Blah 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 blah." And it's like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry, I can't go to the launch party, but please, if there's room on the list." include me. And then I kind of spaced when they were actually shipping.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sent up a follow up while I was out in the UK, like, hey, we've got some finally in stock. We sold out so many of the initial first run, we couldn't seed all of the reviewers. And you're like, well, that's actually a pretty good problem to have. You know, it means that like the headset is already kind of speaking for itself.
I'm glad.
So yeah, it'll be a fun one to follow up on because I just finished that Meze, the earbud review.
Mm-hmm.
So following that up with a gaming headset, the Bear Dynamics, you know, like I got to spend some time with their new 770s,
Mm-hmm.
their replacement 770s, which I think I might break those out again and just kind of show them off in a few more videos. It's we're in this really delightful audio renaissance,
Yeah.
and it is very easy to find some really delightful experiences that would have been insanely expensive exotic
Yeah.
like 10 years ago, that now today they're premium purchases but they're not outlandish.
Yeah.
And that it's like I need to keep coming back to audio as my first love because sure, some of this is novelty. Like not every single one of these headphones and headsets that I show off I listen to every day, but it's like kid in a candy store. It's like you do not need to spend a lot to have a really satisfying experience. And if you kind of dabble over time, you can collect a couple key pieces that really suit the things that you like to do. And that to me is much more important than, well, I spent $500 on a tech brand's Bluetooth headset, so I'm good. I've got a good headphone. I feel like there's a little bit more room in there to talk about right tool for the right job.
No, no, but that's the thing. Headphones and earphones are very I want to say flavorful, but I feel like it's more about the flavor of the audio and the profile that it actually offers. You do need to try a few to be able to figure out what is the sound that you prefer the most and what are the specific details. Like you're saying yourself, like certain pieces of the music of the sound floor that you're able to pick up on a specific pair of cans or even in-ear solutions will make or break your experience in that game. Just understanding and appreciating it the way it's supposed to be. So it's nice. It's nice. No, no, definitely. I want to say I couldn't make the event either. I was invited to that same one, and because I think it was the only one in LA.
I
I
was
just,
so bummed. They
I
hit me up
know,
like, and I was
I
like,
know, and,
if
and
you
I
would have
know.
asked me literally 36 hours earlier, I would have booked that instead of the thing that I committed to.
I would,
They missed me by like a day. And
but
I
I,
totally would have
dude,
done their event, but I already promised someone else that I would do something different.
it's it's this summer's been like this. Okay, like seriously, like
Right? It totally has.
brands have been doing their best to try to book people ahead of time, and it's tough for like last minute type of events that are kind of going on. So, but I'm excited, and I can't wait to see more about that one. I mean, again, I know how much you like the brand, and I'm really happy to see that you're so much excited about the new one coming up. And of course, hopefully within a week or so, we'll be able to hear some more thoughts on that. Hopefully, more experiences going on with that. But I know this isn't my show, and I think this is more your show in a specific way. But
But it's time to wrap it up, I
I,
feel.
well, I
It's
was actually going to ask this, like, what's going on for the rest of the week? That's just usually my shtick.
I have I have no idea. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say everybody really make sure that you're catching your subscriptions for TK's channel.
appreciate it.
I hope to have a Surface laptop review out,
Okay.
and I hope to have a Geekom review out. And I genuinely don't know if I will be able to stay upright long enough to publish videos. So we're really gonna play my channel by ear. It sucks because like I went kind of lean, on my vacation. I really didn't want to have to babysit a whole bunch of video publishing on my vacation, and then I came back and like, oh, I need to take a vacation from my vacation because of the souvenir I brought back from my vacation.
It's,
So excuse me, TK, this would be where you need to promote some things that might be coming out to your channel that we can keep an eye on. because Juan
Um,
is not a reliable source of content for the
Oh, no,
next
no,
couple
no.
days.
We're all in that same, depending on how the week is going, type of situation. But for me, at least, I know for sure this week I'm going to be pushing out my Razer Plus review for the 2024 Razer Plus review from my event that I had the opportunity to spend with last couple of weeks. Now, I am. If I can find the Razer, like, isn't that weird? Like, you have so many phones, but you don't know where the phone is. So I don't know where it is. Oh, yeah, here it is. Sorry. Hey, TK didn't forget too far. So I've been spending some time with this. It's a great upgrade from what we had last year. It's a slightly different approach into what they have with the processor. They decided to go with an 8S. They went with an S series processor as opposed to the full version, but I have been taking so many great pictures with this, spending really good time, even a lot of good pictures from Thailand. That's going to be really nice. So hopefully within the next couple of days on that kind of coming out. And I think a few more. I've had some time to spend with, this is something that you've covered, I think we said months ago, is this little guy, the Hover X1 Air.
Oh, right
Um,
on! It's so cute.
it is that tiny, the cutest little, and I was I was so gonna borrow Juan's in a few weeks, and then lo and behold, the brand reached out, and I'm like, yes, please send it on through. I like it.
It's adorable. It
It is
really is fun.
absolutely, it is more adorable and fun than I thought it was gonna be, because I initially thought of like, well, it's just a drone, man. What is it? No, it's a lot of fun and it's super nice. Very, very good functional options for travel. And I even used it in my recent video that I pushed out for the Van Powers bike. So hopefully,
Nice.
my goal, at least for this week, if nothing else, those two videos. Hopefully, the hover later, and then of course the moto. Hopefully in the next day or so, to be able to push that out for you guys to kind of, check out and let you guys know what I think about the brand new, the Razer and the Razer Plus for 2024. So yeah, that's
Right
pretty much
on. And so, folks, make sure, like I said, it's everything we can do to kind of help support beyond just keeping track or smashing bell icons where YouTube doesn't send out the alerts anyway.
yeah.
Keep an eye on TK's channel so that you can kind of keep up with that kind of coverage and just have these ongoing conversations about the tech that we enjoy. And then also for all the other tech creators out there that are making really good, consistent content. We had Barry Johnson pop in for just a little bit.
Hey.
There's Gadget Goddess. She likes to stream on Tuesdays. Easy Computer Solutions on Wednesdays. I don't know if I'll be functional for a Thursday stream again. For best of our week, we'll have to play that by ear also. This might be the only thing you get from us this week. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough time, but yeah, no, you need to take care of yourself, man. So yeah, priorities always. Yes.
But everyone out there, we've have so many friends and so many earnest participants that are just trying to share good thoughts on how they use this stuff, which is different than I am crafting a media friendly conversation that is going to bring in ad dollars based on something that's the most popular. And that's sorely the situation that we find a lot of creators in, and why so many creators are facing these really intense bouts of burnout as we're in conflict. If we want to tell a certain kind of story, that is a challenge when the pressure of a platform like YouTube is demanding a different kind of audience engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on all of us to share, support, thumbs up, subscribe, bell icon. We need to make the efforts to make sure we keep getting the content that we would want to watch and we would want to experience. It's really the only thing that kind of makes a difference, is showing that there's an interest and showing that there's an engagement. So, folks, thank you everybody for tuning in. Apologies for how awful I've sounded over the course of this stream. And I know Restream was having some issues with audio that I guess sort of worked themselves out. There's almost no point in telling us that there's audio problems anymore, because, like, I didn't do anything, and I guess it got better, or people just stopped caring that I sounded terrible. So it's the hell of live streaming that we find ourselves in. I need everybody out there to have a fantastic week. I want you to do awesome with your technology. I want you to be awesome with your technology. And I want you to keep taking care of yourselves so you can continue taking care of others. I'll catch you back here next week, hopefully for a proper news block, gadget block, rambling diatribe of political tech news and gadget experiences. And of course, with TK also sharing and producing kit along the way.
Absolutely.
Be safe. Take care. I love y'all, and I'll catch you back.